All right, thank you guys for buying the RedCat Impala stretch kit. Now this is going to take your Impala chassis um, to right around 320 millimeters. So it's going to stretch it about 35 millimeters roughly, giving you more access and more availability for other bodies and kind of that, that interchangeability that we want sometimes, especially if you want a long wheelbase hopper. This kit was originally designed for my 62 Lincoln Continental body. So if I reference that body a little bit, you'll understand, but the kit is pretty self-explanatory. You're gonna understand how it comes through and how it goes together throughout the entire process. So this is actually a 63 Impala chassis. This was taken off of a brand new 63 Impala. The chassis has not changed between the 64, the 59, the 63, and the 65. Every single body has the same chassis. This kit will not work with the Monte Carlo. Understand that. So it has to be the Impala hopper chassis. So if you have a hopper chassis, this kit's perfect for you. It offers that stretch. So I'm gonna show you what comes with the kit so you can understand exactly how we're gonna put this together. So this is the kit you're gonna receive. This is my stretch kit. It comes with everything that you're gonna see here. It's got the body brace. So this is the pan. This is the brace that goes in the pan here. And it's all PET G, so it's very strong, very resistant to anything. It's got the full brace system for the body and the frames here. This will add more rigidity to the body. Comes with all the hardware already included, with heat set in nuts. It also comes with 2 of the frame braces. So these are your frame braces here. And these will actually mount onto the frame of the chassis. So here in this area, you'll see. And I'll show you a little bit more once we get there. And then it also comes with a drill guide. So the drill guide you're gonna need to install the hardware on these parts. So just so you guys get a general idea of where we're gonna take this and how it's gonna go. So like I said, this is the stock chassis. We're gonna move that aside real quick. And I'm gonna show you with the brighter colored additions what the stretch kit's gonna look like. So this is the pan brace here. So in the dead center, this is where you're gonna brace your pan. This is your chassis brace here. Now this was a version 1 kit that I did myself. This doesn't have the metal hardware. This is actually just screwed into the plastic. So the new kit that I designed that you're gonna be getting, that you're gonna be working with, is actually metal to metal. So a lot stiffer there. And then we're gonna flip it over here. And this is the frame brace. So you can see here in the red, it's the frame brace. Now you're gonna see a couple pieces here and here in the back and the front. Now this is my custom body mount. These are specific to the 62 Lincoln Continental that I designed. So if you end up getting a 62 Continental body for me, ask me about these body mounts. They will be needed for that body. And these are also magnetic with the magnetic, the magnets already installed on them. I do have another set of body mounts. You can find them on my eBay store. And those fit the regular RedCat chassis and other universal bodies too. So let's get into installing this so you can understand what you're gonna need. So before we get started, you're gonna need a couple tools. You're gonna need a hacksaw, okay? This is a cheap $10 hacksaw. You can get it on Amazon, you can go to Home Depot, you can go wherever you need to get it from, but that's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need your Allen keys to remove the electronics and some of the body components. You're gonna need a 1/16 Allen to install the new kit. You're gonna need a file. You're gonna need a drill bit set. I use a 5/64 drill bit, but that's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need a drill, obviously. Drill bit, drill. You're gonna need a ruler. So here I have a metric ruler, but you can use a regular ruler or some type of right angle square, okay? You're gonna need super glue. Most of my kits are gonna be already including super glue, so this is just the super glue that I had on hand at the time. Some masking tape, either the blue tape or regular white tape. A mechanical pencil. And you're gonna need trigger clamps, okay? Don't forget the trigger clamps, they're very important. So, these are some of the things you're gonna need. Optionally, an X-Acto knife. I don't really see myself using it. It's kind of a moot point at that, but if you have it, keep it on hand, that's great. So these are the things you're gonna need to install the kit. Everything else, my kit includes, so it makes it really, really easy. Now, I do recommend to install this kit over the course of 24 hours because you want that super glue to set up and dry nice and tough. I'm not gonna be held responsible if you don't follow the instructions. So, here again, we're at the RedCat chassis. I'm just gonna point out some of the things. This kit needs to be installed with the electronics removed, okay? So you're gonna remove all the servos, okay? You're gonna remove all the controllers and the cables and everything. These are held on with double-sided sticky tape as well as the switch. And then the servos have Allen screws on either side of them. So all of that needs to be removed, as well as the linkage here. Can this be done without removing any of this? No, you have to remove it all, okay? And then you have to separate the frame, which is here, from the body pan, okay? So in order to do that, you have to take off the mufflers. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws for each muffler and exhaust piping here. You're gonna have to remove the rear axle. This just slides out, so you unpin it. Basically, you pop out all the little connectors and it'll pop right off. And then you start removing the frame by removing all of the Allen bolts across the body pan. Now, I do make a recommendation. You can leave the front suspension on. You can leave the weights on in the back. It's a lot easier if you go completely stripped down and clean everything off the frame and the body pan. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna make your life a hell of a lot easier. So I've already done that. I'm not gonna go through that whole process for you. There's a lot of stuff online that you can look up, but I have the frame and the body pan, 2 completely separate pieces, so you can see them here, okay? Tons and tons of Allens that need to be removed, okay? These pieces, the front suspension and everything comes off, I think, with 4 Allen screws, and then you know, it makes it a lot easier to just work on everything, as well as taking out the weights in the back here underneath the fake trunk area. But you know, we're just gonna go on to what we need. So first things first, we're gonna modify the body pan. So on the body pan, you're gonna notice a triangular piece of plastic that holds down the cabling in the dead center. Those 2 very outmost screw holes are gonna be your reference points. Now, what I say is reference points is right here, those match up on the bottom of the body pan also to these 2 holes here, right across the tunnel. So if you notice on your RedCat, the tunnel right in the middle of your body pan chassis, this area here is where you're gonna start making your mark for the cut. So right at the very edge of that triangle, right on the body pan, right across that tunnel, you're gonna make your marks, okay? That's where you're gonna cut. It's very important that you understand that your cut needs to happen on the back end of this plastic, right in front of these 2 holes, okay? Not through the holes, not on the top of the plastic, right behind it, right on the edge, across the tunnel and across the rest of the pan. I'm gonna use a straight edge so you can understand exactly what I mean. Okay, so from edge to edge, right across this tunnel, you're gonna make a mark because that's where you're gonna make your cut, okay? I use a mechanical pencil in this regard because it's nice and straight, it's very sharp, and you can understand where your markings are, okay? So this is where your tape comes into play. I use the tape as a guide. Do you need to use your tape as a guide? No. I use it as a guide to make my life easier so that I know exactly where I'm cutting, okay? For me, trying to be precise is important. When I designed this kit originally, I wasn't as precise and there was a lot of trimming I had to do. So that's why I try to make sure that this is done to as much precision as I can. Same thing on the edge here. This piece, right where your cut is, try to maintain a 90-degree angle. That's why I like the square. You know, you try to maintain as much of a 90-degree angle here because it's gonna make it a lot easier when you do the initial cuts and you do the body fitting and all that stuff for the pan mount. So keep those cuts as straight as humanly possible. Keep that 90 degrees as much as possible. So that's marked out. So we know that our cut line is going to be here on this side. I'm just putting some arrows so I can gauge it next time. So it's on this side as the cut line. Okay. Now we're going to go to the frame. Okay. The frame is a little bit trickier because there is some understanding of where this cut line has to go. So right at this X brace on the frame, right at the very end, there's going to be a spot where it kind of bows out. You see, like here, it goes from a single piece and then it starts to Y split into these X frame here. From that spot there, you want to measure out about 5 millimeters. Now I'm going to show you what 5 millimeters looks like so you can understand. So 5 millimeters is right from that line I marked right to that line there. So I'm going to flip this over. That's metric. You're looking at about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so measure 1/4 of an inch. If you're scared and you don't want to get exactly 1/4 of an inch, go a little farther out, and that's fine. Okay, you just want to make sure whatever you measure here, you measure it exactly the same on that side. So I'm going to measure, I'm going to flip it over to my metric side. Okay, again, that's 5 millimeters there. I'm going to go right about 7.5 millimeters, just because I feel comfortable at that point there. Again, 7.5, that's the smidge more than 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to go 7.5. That's going to be my reference mark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a straight edge. And I'm just going to mark another 7.5 on this side. Just so it's even. Just so I know that my cuts are going to be accurate on both sides. So then I'm going to take my masking tape. As soon as I find the edge, I'll take my masking tape. Again, you can use blue tape. You can use any tape you have. You don't have to use tape. I recommend it just to keep everything clean. I'm going to use my tape here, and then I'm just going to, I'm going to mark where my cut line's going to be. So now I know that these two areas are my cut lines. Okay, I'm going to mark them with a pencil. So I have my arrows. There we go. There we go. And this is where I'm going to start cutting. Now, this is the scary part. So don't be squeamish. You're going to be cutting up your $600 RedCat RC car. And that's where your hacksaw comes in. Before I used a 12-inch hacksaw, I used a 6-inch hacksaw, and I guarantee it's a million times harder. So we're gonna get to cutting. I might just fast forward this. So if you're squeamish, look away. But if not, then we'll go with it. But you're just gonna cut as straight as humanly possible across the body and the frame, and that's going to basically be the major modification you're gonna do on your RedCat Impala chassis. Okay, so I took my file, bit of sandpaper, and I just cleaned up the frame and the body pan as much as I could. Remove some of the flashing that exists here to make sure that all the pieces are going to sit flat, especially on the inside of the pan here and here. And then also made sure that these angles here were above 90 degrees. So, you know, that's the original pan. You can see I did a little extra trimming here because my cut was a little off, but you know, not a huge deal. You just try your best on that front. And then here's the X-frame too that I cleaned up. So next thing what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our X-frame connectors, and there's 2 of them there. And I'm gonna show you a little pro tip. Now this is gonna help you when reassembling your body chassis and making sure everything's straight. So I'm actually going to reinstall the frame, the frame onto the body pan here. I'm just gonna line up the areas where it was, install a couple screws, just to make sure everything's straight. So I'm gonna put a couple screws here, and then a couple screws in the back to make sure everything's in line where it's supposed to be. So give me a second while I install, and I'm gonna do the same for the front. And I'm just gonna put 4 screws on each side, make sure everything's nice and straight so that when we start gluing and screwing and doing all those things, we're not gonna have any questions about whether it's straight or not. And we're gonna make sure that it's all lined up back to factory, because the one thing you don't want is for your lowrider to hop crooked or drive crooked or any of those things. So like I said, I'm just gonna put a couple screws in here, make sure it's all lined up. 4 on each side would probably do it for me. You can overkill if you want and put it back together, but you know, for all intents and purposes, this is just gonna be fine. So let me get that done, and then we'll move on. All right, there we go. So frames in, attached to the body pan, and we can start putting in our frame braces. So you'll notice on the braces I designed a through channel, and then 2 frame channels here that are kind of boxed in. That boxed in area is what attaches to the frame here, and it attaches upside down. Flat side goes toward the edge, so flat toward the edge on either side. They're interchangeable. And then the through hole channel goes on the inside edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just test fit it right now, because I want it to sit as flush as humanly possible. And you'll notice on both sides of where I made the cut, it kind of hits on this piece of the body pan. Just a little, just enough to annoy me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it right on the frame. I'm right on the frame stiffeners here. I'm going to mark it on both sides where that touches. And had this moved up, a couple millimeters or what, you'd be changing the mark on it. I just do it this way because, I want to make sure that it's as flush as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm just going to trim a little bit of this out. Just a little bit. Use my file or my hacksaw, whatever I want, to just clean it up a little bit. So why don't I use the hacksaw real quick just to get it over with, and it's just going to be a real quick trim. Same on this side. So, real quick trim. And then I'll finish it off with an X-Acto knife. Keep it clean. And I know what they say, don't cut toward yourself, but there we go. Clean that up with the file a little bit. Okay. And now we're going to come back in here and we're just going to check that fit. And what do you know? Perfect. Now we're cleared on that side and we're cleared on this side. So perfect fitment, completely flat on that side, completely flat on this side. And then you're just going to match it up to the frame on this side. So a little bit of a tip, and this is where it gets kind of fun, is you're not going to be able to hold it like that. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to use our pan brace to help kind of put everything together. And in doing so, that's where your trigger clamps are going to come into play. So let me show you a little bit of a pro tip. When installing all this together, you're going to use your body pan and chassis braces. You're going to remove the hardware that comes with the kit. Just a couple screws, and you see the heat set inserts there. Both sides. Oh. And you're not going to drop the hardware into the body like I did, or the chassis like I did. And then you're going to take these two pieces and you're going to line them with masking tape. Using blue painter's tape just because I want a nice thick piece here. I'm just going to put it on both of them. So flip that around. And you'll understand why in a second. So I'll line that with blue painter's tape just like that. Trim this off. I don't need them stuck together. And this is going to help you put these two halves together. So, body pan brace can go either way, it doesn't matter. Sits just like this. Fits right between those two elements, just like that. Okay, so we're going to do this piece by piece so you can understand where my brain is. Super glue. This is where the fun happens. You're going to put your super glue here, right on the inside of the band, on all the areas that this body pan chassis brace or body pan brace covers. So just like that. Put some super glue, and we're going to drop it down into the body pan, just like that. Okay, so you see it's on both sides, and it's stuck in there without issue. Now we're gonna do the same thing on this side. And we're going to, again, add the super glue in all the areas that the body pan brace is going to touch. And we're gonna attach it just like that. See, look at that, perfect. So, again, it's a little wobbly right now, but that's where these come in, okay? So what you're gonna do is, there's a line here that sits right on that brace, just like that, okay? We're gonna take that, we're gonna squish it together, and we're gonna bring in our trigger clamps. And we're gonna use this chassis, this brace, to help brace it all together. So there's one trigger clamp there. We're gonna do the same on this side. Stick it in. Now, I put the tape on it because I don't want the super glue to stick to that, because we haven't drilled the holes yet. And that comes later when it's all connected. So trigger clamp there, a little bit of a longer trigger clamp here. Stick that in. And stick that in. All right. So now, once these are installed, we're gonna flip it over. I might have to adjust the camera a little bit. Okay, so I actually flipped the trigger clamps over so you can see a little bit better. But now we're gonna install our braces. So, same as last time, you're gonna put glue on the frame everywhere the brace touches. Okay, and the brace only touches the frame about 5 millimeters. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a bead of glue along the edge here, just because I want it to attach not only to just the frame, but I want it attached to the chassis and the body pan as well. So, and what I might do is I might put a little bead right on the connector here and here, so that everywhere that it touches adds a little bit of bracing. So that'll just slide in like that. Okay, we'll drop down. Same thing here, a little bit of glue, put a little bit more in here, and drop down just like that. And I'm going to use another set of trigger clamps to just make sure, and these are a little bit bigger, that that part is as tight to the body pan and the frame as humanly possible, because the last thing we want is for anything to pop off or come loose or break in the middle of a awesome session that we have. So put some pressure on it, make sure it's nice and tight on all sides. Oh, look at that. Cap your glue and then leave it alone. Don't touch it. Give it 24 hours and then come back. And that's what we're gonna do. So let's wipe to 24 hours from now, and I'll see you then. Okay, we're back. Were you able to wait the whole 24 hours before you started taking stuff apart? Let's see if we can do it. All right, by now everything should be pretty much set up. Might get a little bit of hazing, but nothing a little Sharpie or black paint won't fix. So let's pop these off. Okay. All right, everything looks nice and tight. Very good. All right, let's see if our tape trick did it. Look at that. Worked perfect. Popped right off. Let's see if this one did. And again, perfect. No glue on our braces. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. So now we're gonna drill some holes. So we're gonna take off the tape and we're gonna drill a couple holes for our chassis brace. And this is where your drill guide comes into play. So we're just gonna line the drill guide up in the corner here. You'll see it falls perfectly within the body pan brace, and then we're just going to use our pencil, stick out the lead as far as we can, and we're going to mark a little hole, a little dot on all the holes. So make sure it's nice and tight up against it. And there we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, nice and tight. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. All right, there we go. So let's grab our drill bit. I'm going to be using a 5/64, I think, for this job that I just dropped. Wow, there it is. So 5/64. And that should give us just enough room to get the screw in. Actually, I think I'm going to go a little bit different on that. It's going to go to, let me use a 3/32. So I'm just going to double check that. Yep, 3/32. So, grab our drill, throw in our drill bit. And there's no reason to scream through this, so let's just get these drilled. And that's 4, all done. Now we're just gonna double check. I'm gonna throw this in the corner, flip it upside down, and make sure we can see our holes. And looks okay. All right, So now the fun part. We're going to install the hardware that came with the kit. Okay. So, you know what? It's still a little too tight. I might go a little bit bigger. Let's see here. 7/64. Let's go with the 7/64. Yeah. Like I said, this is the first kit I'm doing with my V2. The first one I did, you actually screwed it into the plastic. So this one actually has hardware. All right, so let's see if that fits a little bit better. We're still a little tight, but geez, I think that's gonna be okay. Yeah, that seems okay. Okay. A little tight, but not too bad. What happens if we go to an 1/8? You know what? Let's go to an 1/8. Just because I want to make sure that everybody can do this fairly easily. We're going to go to an 1/8. Clean up these edges here. Perfect. All right. So, see if that just drops in. Hey, there it is. Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to attach it. So a little bit of a tip too. Is I glue these in. You don't have to. I recommend it. It adds more structural rigidity to the body, and it prevents it from coming apart in the future. Should there be any, you know, issues or stuff like that. There's some tape that got caught in here, so I'm just cleaning it off. It'll be covered by the panel, but my OCD is preventing it from staying the way it is. So, hey, look at my X-Acto knife actually came in handy. So, and this is where the glue leaked out, just so you know why the tape is stuck to the body pan. So, again, I like to glue it. You don't have to. That's completely up to you. But for structural rigidity, I throw a nice bead of glue over all the contact points because I want to make sure this thing stays on and doesn't come off. So let's put it into place. Like I said, it just slides into place like it did before. Everything kind of slides in together, and then we're going to flip it upside down and throw in the hardware. And we're going to do that for both sides. So, for some reason, my GoPro decided to crap out again and freeze up on this section of me putting it all together. But It's pretty self-explanatory. You're gonna just screw in both sides, throw some glue on it, and just make sure everything's put together nice and tight. It should be very stiff. There shouldn't be any issues. I'm pretty much putting a good amount of weight when I'm putting it all together to see how it flexes. But really easy, real simple. Once it's all together, you're ready to put everything back together, including all the electronics, and wire it back up, connect all your servos, and go have fun. This will fit any 320 millimeter body. There are a couple modifications that are needed on the Lincoln body, but I include a sheet for modifications on your RedCat if you buy my stretch kit and the Lincoln body. So really simple, really fun. I'm excited to see what you guys can do with this stretch kit, with these new projects, and want to see what the community comes up with. So go have fun, enjoy, and hopefully I'll be coming up with some new stuff. And until the next project, have a great one.